I'm a depressed jazz fan. Like just
talked about it.
it's like, you know, hereditary. You don't choose it. It's given to you. Yeah. It's
Passed
just,
down
just sad. Just sad. We finally got my father, who's been a fan his whole life. Like saw them win their only Super Bowl, but we finally got him a jersey when Rodgers came on the team, and he was at that game, that first game. But just kind of sealed the fate when he got hurt.
What does everyone here do in the cannabis space?
Just curious if people listen and like what video of those.
Oh, good.
More than everyone. So you guys made it a free promotion.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You consume. Okay, so you're consuming.
What's the name of the video?
My main video blog actually crashed. So that's the problem. It's called Learning it to Perfection. But now I will start in English.
Okay. Oh, that's
Cool.
I've always been a fan of cannabis since high school.
Same.
And then I went to the real world. So I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I didn't want to lose my job. I usually retired. And started to get back into it. So I had a couple of health issues and stuff. I had a hard time sleeping. I do like the gummy before I go to bed, like an hour before, and I get a good 4 or 5 hours sleep. And the rest of that, I'm like, go get the next day.
Yeah, we love it. And sleep is so popular. That's
Yeah,
the
I
number
need
one
my
reason.
sleep. I can't function without it, yeah.
People definitely gotta sleep, you know.
That's right. That's
We're on loops right now. We're just checking out the spot.
Yeah. Are you guys here for a little bit?
We're gonna be here, like, yeah,
the cup.
through the ceremony
Yeah.
at least.
Good.
She's about to drop some bars if you want to come and take a seat.
Oh,
Yeah,
she
he knows-
got the beat.
he
You
knows
got
I'm
the
not
beat.
gonna drop.
I'll say it, she's gonna drop bars. I'll sit right here.
Because I just scream.
Let me get a freestyle real quick. All right.
I meant not really bars.
Thanks a lot, dude.
Wait, we're not freestyling? What's happening?
No, we're not freestyling, no.
Oh,
we don't.
what the hell?
One of them just kind of like check it out, I don't know.
What time is starting?
It's supposed to be 12:15, but nobody's actually told us. Let's
Oh.
look at a start.
Are you waiting for like someone to be like, no?
Well, yeah, I assumed it was a
Moderator, but
It's a
Andrew?
I thought, yeah, it was,
Qualifications, this guy here has got a lot of qualifications.
Angela, I thought she was,
Here we go.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
He's coming back.
right?
Yeah, it looks like soft tuning.
Yeah, well, here comes Tyler. Or,
Soft tuning.
yes. How's it going?
How you doing?
Good.
He definitely wants to listen to your panel.
Good. So Tyler, we were just wondering, do we have a moderator still, or?
I'll go get Aaron.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry, I thought she was already down here.
no worries.
Tell her I've warmed it up for her.
Yeah, exactly.
Got
Yep,
We did some good prep work.
yep, we workshopped a bit.
I got home with bed. He had one twice last night. 1, 3.
Is he just wandering around capturing people?
Yeah, he is.
He captured you.
People in them.
I'm not giving you for information.
Yeah.
On the whole cannabis.
Yeah.
I'm a certified public accountant.
Nice. Oh, cool.
No worries at all.
We should talk, because I need an accountant.
Oh,
Yeah, so.
I'm gonna say some
My
of my
taxes are gonna be a mess
looking
this
for-
year, but yeah,
So I'm transitioning to specific.
Cannabis.
Industry.
Cool. Nice. Nice, that's great. We need more of it, that's for sure.
I'm here.
Yeah.
They just,
I'm sure it does.
we in the accounting field. The accounting industry is
Not my
the
boy.
risk and challenge
Wanna level up.
come up. And you gotta fucking know it, like, love county.
Yep.
That's what comes up when we
Yeah.
start to research
Yeah.
it and hear more about cannabis.
Mhm.
What's the risk
Yep.
involved?
Yeah.
with companies?
Yeah.
Risk and reward.
Mhm.
So
Definitely. And other companies like mine, we have a licensing agreement with our producer.
Man, you ready to listen, right?
And so we operate as ancillary, just IV. And so it's more of a traditional business model in that sense, because we don't have to worry about the 1080E, because everything is being run through our producer, so we're not technically plant touching. So, yeah, the kind of piece is a big one. Is there like a special certification that you need to get to be able to process cannabis, or is it more just familiarity with the
No,
field?
it's more familiarity
Yeah.
with what's happening.
Yeah,
It's just more of that, it's so new. It's so new in the sense of like, it's not as old as businesses that's been around hundreds of years.
Yeah.
We have already dissected and everything. It's so new.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
They're streaming though, so it might actually help the sound. Sorry.
They get risk
Yeah.
and it's like, wait.
Mhm. Yeah.
My firm's been doing well.
Yeah, exactly. They get scared. Yeah. Mhm.
So, but
Like everything.
But if states are now allowing the legality of the risk has to be coming down.
Yeah. Mhm.
But it's more so the risk of not knowing
Mhm.
versus true risk.
Yeah.
It's just that you don't know what's
Yeah,
happening. So
definitely.
you have to come do research and
Yeah.
build and talk to people like, here, this is the
Mhm.
information.
I'll give you my card after this, for sure. We should talk.
Well, hey guys, I'm gonna use this because I'm a soft talker and I know we're like streaming and stuff. So, yeah, have you sort of given your backgrounds? Have you all introduced yourselves? Do people know who they're dealing with? Do they know? Oh, okay. Well then, may I ask, kind of, if you want to share your background and maybe just like, one thing that if you could leave them with any nugget, just to make sure we get it, throw it out there.
Okay, cool. My name's Lindsay Roth. I'm the CEO, co-founder of The Happy Confection. We're over at booth 122. Definitely stop and say hi if you haven't already. We are a locally owned cannabis brand that just came to Connecticut 2 months ago. We sell edibles that for the recreational and medical market in unconventional doses. So on the rec side, we do 2.5 milligram microdose, and on the medical side, they're 25 milligram megadose. We look forward to offering 50s to that community soon as well as just trying to find void in the market and do things a little bit differently than what everyone else tends to do at the beginning. We look forward to being good partners in our community and having cause marketing that benefits groups in the communities that we serve, as well as, really appreciate the partners that we have in the industry helping us to get started and hit the ground running. My background before this, I was in marketing for 15 years, primarily in nonprofit and higher education spaces. So it was very different and very boring by comparison. But if there's one piece that I can leave you with before we get started and talk about, the market and how to navigate marketing within cannabis, it's that it's all figure outable. Like it's not, I think as daunting as it might seem at the outset, really, it's not about the cannabis piece of it. It's just about compliance. And so just like you're navigating other aspects of this industry and field, that too can be written, like easily applied and transitioned over to the marketing side.
Hi, my name is Kristin Souza. I am the owner of a boutique marketing firm and social media management firm called Sugarleaf Creative. I previously owned a retail storefront in downtown Middletown that was also called Sugarleaf, where we sold locally sourced CBD wellness products, functional glass art, and things like that. So it wasn't a traditional smoke shop, whereas we didn't sell any nicotine products, but we really tried to focus on the wellness aspect of the cannabis plant. And then transitioned that into marketing based off of, some freelance work that I had done through various clients, ranging from podcasts to grow stores to large law firms that handle cannabis. So, to that piece with marketing, whether it's something that's a very small kind of homegrown startup or one of the largest cannabis law firms in the country, there's a lot of similarity with how you are marketing, advertising, and displaying your messaging. So really, you tailor it to your audience, but there's a lot of similarities in that. So I threw my gold nugget in the middle, but I guess a little bit more about me. I'm also a board member on the Connecticut Cannabis Small Business Alliance. We are a newly formed nonprofit in the state of Connecticut focused on small businesses within the space to help amplify them and provide networking and education resources. And yeah, that's me. So feel free to keep in touch. I do not have a booth, but you can find me online or wandering around here today.
Hey, what's up? My name is Red Rodriguez, like the color. I own a marketing and branding agency inside of the cannabis space. I am the former director of brand partnerships for Grab, which is the world's largest and oldest bong company, where we leverage collaborations and cross promotion, you know, as creativity as a means of a business solution. I've been in the industry for like the last 13 years. I got into the industry as a bud tender and have grown and climbed to the industry and have had an executive role in my last 3 gigs, you know, and yeah, have really leveled up inside of the industry. My nugget is in cannabis marketing. Brands should focus on their relationships with dispensaries and bud tenders, and for brands inside of the cannabis industry, marketing should be just subject to what you do inside of the store.
Okay, so yes, we have a wealth of experience here. So I'm just wondering, like, where should people put their efforts and their energy and their, you know, financial investment into? Is it social media? Is it podcasts? Is it articles? Like, where should they sort of like direct their energy? Anyone can answer.
I have a nice idea, so first. So I mean, like, if you're a brand and you want to focus, you know, investing into, I mean, like evergreen channels, like really owning your consumer is really important. So like collecting email and SMS is important from a D2C perspective, but as a brand existing in the cannabis industry, all your marketing should be trade marketing. So inside of the dispensary, how you show up on the shelf, how you're educating the people who are actually selling your product, what your relationship is with that store, and outside, you know, like I have this thing, brands shouldn't just drop off product at a dispensary. Once they're onboarded on the menu, they should be really training the staff. They should be highly engaged and asking, you know, where they fit in the ecosystem of the dispensary and how they can add value, you know, to dispensaries.
You know, I actually agree with a lot of that. I think, or all of it actually. I'm just going to piggyback off of, for ancillary brands, that might not be the best approach. So, you know, if you are a manufacturer of gummies and you're distributing through dispensaries, that model absolutely makes sense. It is always important for ancillary brands to be partnering with the dispensaries, in my opinion, because they have the most foot traffic. They're going to have the most people coming in and out of there. But at the same time, kind of owning your own marketing. So let's say you're a glass blower, or, you know, you're making custom rolling trays, like some of the folks that are out on the floor. You also want to be, to that point, holding your own information. So getting email blasts, because I think we've probably all seen it or experienced it. I love social media. I think that is a great avenue for free marketing, but you're subject to their terms and conditions. And we've all either been shadow banned, shut down, or seen someone complaining about that happening. And it's really frustrating. Like, you build an account, you know, whether it's 200 people or 20,000 people, you work to build that, you engage with your audience, and then you lose it. You want to have those emails so that you can send out a newsletter. You want to have your own Substack, your own blogs. So the focus is something really important when you get started and put together your marketing plan. Think about who you're trying to reach and the best way to get to those people, right? Like, if you're not going to be working with folks that are going to a dispensary, that won't make as much sense as maybe trying to go on podcasts and work with folks that do digital blogging to get your face and your name recognition out there. So.
Yeah, and I agree completely with what you both said. And to piggyback off of Red, you know, outside of the dispensary, I would say the biggest efforts that I make in my day-to-day is I want to get people trying our gummies, whether they're infused or uninfused, we have uninfused samples here today. But also signing up for email and engaging with our controlled communications, because that is the best way that you can stay in touch with any canna brand, because at the end of the day, no social media is canna friendly. And so we can get shut down. We're on our third Instagram handle, and I had to cave and buy the blue check because they just were shutting me down before I even started posting on a new handle. And so I think that, you know, being aware of those challenges and working with them instead of against them is really important.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off of that, like, how do you deal most effectively with the stigma? Like, what workarounds or like, what have you found to be most helpful? Because yeah, there's a heavy stigma and you're definitely penalized on social media. So what's effective to work around that? And like, what rules have you come across are the most ridiculous? I'm just curious.
I mean, they're all kind of ridiculous, but what I see in the Connecticut market specifically is the DCP rules and regulations for marketing in general coming onto social media platforms, which they have no influence over. And so a lot of like disclaimers on every single post that almost apologize for existing. For me, the law isn't written that clearly to the point that it's saying to do that on every single social media post. And I think that if you can interpret it, talk to your legal counsel, but I put it in our bio, for example, like keep cannabis out of reach of children, what have you, nothing for sale. That's good enough for me. Like, you know, they're engaging with my account. That's as a blanket disclaimer. But I will say that something that's worked well, unfortunately, because you have to pay to play, but once we got shut down for a third time, I bought the check mark for our new handle, and knock on wood, it has not been an issue since. What they do instead of just shutting you down without really much of an explanation is they flag things for you to go in and either archive or delete or fix. And then you can resubmit it for approval. And that verification, the fact that you're paying a monthly fee, does get you through a lot of what were previously obstacles to at least keeping your audience and the engagement that you have been building up, because that takes work and a lot of a long game playing, especially on some platforms. And that has value to it too. And so I, think sometimes you just have to break down and do it.
I'm trying to think, so you said like some of the more ridiculous things that you've seen. So like I nerded out reading through terms of service and terms and conditions on Meta platforms, Twitter, Blue Sky, just to see what the different variations were. I mean, overwhelmingly what it comes down to is because cannabis is still federally illegal, it is like promoting a drug or alcohol. Now, that being said, we all go online and we see people doing shots and this, that, and the other. And that doesn't seem to get the same violations as cannabis. It is what it is. At this point, I treat it like a game. It's a game. I may not like the rules, but if I want to play the game, you got to try to skirt around them. So some things, and again, we're all going to see stuff where it seems fine, but technically you should not be showing yourself consuming online. Particularly for a professional brand, I definitely advocate against doing that. Because you don't want to get your account shut down because you're sitting in your living room taking a bong hit and putting it on Twitter or Instagram or something. And, I think you said it in the beginning, showing the workers in your dispensary, showing, customers engaging with your products. I'm going to throw Kevin's name out here, but Connecticut, I think they do a really great job of branding. It's folks that interact with them, people wearing their apparel, their stickers out in the wild. They're still getting a lot of brand and name recognition, but they're not always showing things that would get you flagged or in trouble. So it's really a lot of, folks like to see what goes on behind the scenes. A lot of perfectly curated Canva graphics look really pretty when you pull your grid up, but that's not doing anything for you as far as like actually marketing. People buy from people they like, they resonate with stories. And so don't be fake about it. Like, this is my brand story. Like, truly share what your brand is doing, how you're growing, the behind the scenes, we're getting into this store and that store. People like to feel like they're a part of the journey, and I think that works so well.
I think one of the weirdest cannabis laws in general is some states allow recreational use, but not consumption of it. And in California, one of the most popular states, you can still get arrested for consuming the cannabis that you legally bought. That's really weird, but that's actually has nothing to do with marketing. But I think in regards to marketing cannabis, so it's highly regulated, like they mentioned. But I think the way you build community, especially through social media, is interesting. I think people approach Instagram for clout, and it's like a resume, a social resume. But before, the new CEO of Twitter was, you could post anything on fucking Twitter and grow an account. Consumption of cannabis, drugs, sex is actually regularly posted on Twitter, and it's not shadow banned, and it's actually it's okay, I think brands typically are most concerned with Instagram because how much of a social resume it is, right? Everyone wants to have the prettiest Instagram. Everyone wants their feed to look like a gallery. And brands who choose community and to build community and don't want to be performative in how they present themselves win on Instagram. And typically those brands are posting everyday user-generated content. It's not highly editorial. It's very grounds level. But I think that is weird in the marketing space. We tend to really just focus on Instagram, where it actually does nothing for a brand because you can't sell on a product. And dispensaries actually can't market it. They can't upload anything because technically even just publishing a picture is the sell and use of promotion of a brand. So yeah.
All right, right on. So do you guys have anything you want to add? Because I'm going to see if anyone has questions that they would like to ask.
Other thing to add is that, in addition, yes, I remember the glory days of Twitter when it was actually much more easier to navigate. But I have found LinkedIn, surprisingly, to be really good from a business-to-business standpoint, but even a little bit B2C, because a lot of our customers are existing as professionals in the world, and LinkedIn is another place that they go to that has to sort of be updated. It's a necessary evil because it's where people go to find out more about you. And if you can get a decent following there, the engagement is actually way up. And LinkedIn doesn't flag cannabis content as much as any other platform that I've been on, and is actually leaning into the fact that they are canna friendly. They just launched video features and are trying to become more social in the way that people engage on it. And so that might be a space also to do some experimenting with a little less hesitancy.
And I thought of it when you guys were both talking. I agree that people hyper-focus on social media. At the same time, I think it should be a high-level focus. And someone gave me this analogy and I stole it, but it's like your social media is like your welcome mat. If your welcome mat is messy or missing, people may have opinions about what's going on the inside. The inside is your website, it's your distribution channels. Now, a smaller business or a startup probably has one person or the owner themselves doing all of it. So you're making your flyers, you're putting together your advertisements, you're doing the social media. As you grow, you can branch that out, and you want that to be a more holistic feel. So maybe you've got someone that's doing the branding, making sure that the logo is right, the imagery, the pictures. Those are the pamphlets and flyers that'll be printed and given out at trade shows and dispensaries. You also want your social media not to necessarily be a picture of that image, but to tie in with all of that. That way everything is just very crisp and clean. When we look at a brand like Nike, you see it, you know it's Nike. It doesn't matter where it's presented. So you kind of want to work on doing that. Don't hyper focus on social media, but it's free unless you're paying for the checks or the advertisements. For the most part, it's free. Depending upon your platform, you can get in front of hundreds and thousands of people that would have never seen you otherwise. And another thing, it's like if you got 20 people in a room that were even moderately interested in you, you'd be like, oh my God. But then you get a post that's only got 15, 20 likes, and we inherently feel some kind of way about that. That was 20 people that would have never seen you otherwise. So don't get in your head about the metrics and the engagement and all that. Just excuse my language, put your shit out there, people see it, and it starts to grow organically.
Yeah, you can go to questions.
I have more compliance questions, but you guys are more about marketing. So with what you're saying, and I'm a sponge right now, taking all information. You're saying that marketing and advertising has been difficult from social media aspect, right? How do you work around that? What other avenues do you use to work around that and still have effective success?
So for us on the brand side, I think it's exactly what Rich said, or Red, sorry. We're just talking about Rich.
I'm gonna let Rich know. I'll let Rich
And
know.
yeah, he's in our thoughts. Queer and Cannabis, great organization, check it out. For us, it's thinking about what the customer journey is, but even more so, what's central to my marketing plan is the bud tender. They're the people that are gonna be pushing your product every day, and if they like it, if they know your story, and if you're able to give them a narrative that's gonna help them close the deal with the customer, you're golden. And a lot of bud tender, so that's the retailers that are at the checkout when customers go into the dispensaries. And so they're really at the heart of my strategy. I believe, we do just drop off product at places, but that is not the long-term goal, because you do need to curate an experience. And now that we've gotten a little bit of footing and we're in some stores and I have a little bit more bandwidth, I'm able to get ahead of when stores are opening, for example, and get into the bud tender training so that they're there all day, training on compliance and their jobs and how to work in the store. But then they're also learning about us as a brand so that we're fresh and top of mind. Some of the bud tenders that I went to a training for last week were here over the weekend. They stopped by, they said hi. I was able to give them samples of our products so that they could even take it a step further than what we were able to do in store for them. And so I think having things that are easily recalled is really, really important for that. The other way that we work around it, honestly, is by partnering up with retailers and being a really good participant in their events, being the first ones that respond to emails when they're looking for pop-ups, support for a grand opening, or if they're doing a special event at a brewery during Dry January. We called it High Canuary and did a mocktail event at a local brewery with Fine Fettle, for example, and that went really well. But again, I believe that we were asked to join them for that because we're always the ones that are saying yes. And so at the end of the day, you also have to be a really good partner in the industry to find those ways to work around the obstacles and get into those spaces where you can really go face to face with customers too.
Email and SMS. I think if you have a direct line to the consumer, that means you can directly sell to them. Email and SMS out of all the marketing channels has the strongest conversions typically for dispensaries, brands, and even ancillary businesses. Yeah. I don't know if you guys ever got a text message and bought something, but yeah, the brand has direct communication with you and you give them that. And emails have a dollar value. I think the acquisition dollar value of an email is about $19.
Yeah, it's still a strong channel, even though it's very crowded.
This is sort of a random thought, but we are limited in ways that surrounding states aren't as well. So I'll go into Massachusetts or folks from New York, I think New Jersey, someone mentioned. They can do things differently. So you'll notice their industry events are certainly very different. And there's definitely a different feel as far as folks from the legacy community working with folks from the regulated community. And they put together events that are genuinely very fun. And they range from golf clinics to comedy shows and we have a lot of those things in Connecticut too. But it feels a little bit more segmented here. I believe that whether it's for personal branding, networking, getting to know people in the community, whether they're advocates, license holders, ancillary brands, it kind of ties back into that, like working together, playing nice in the sandbox, and working with people that share your values, right? Because like as a brand, it kind of can really hurt you if you're putting yourself out there and then you team up with someone that just absolutely does not share your personal or brand values in any way. I mean, that can kind of leak onto you, I guess, for lack of a better word. But I'm a big fan of like mainstreaming. So, you know, to your point, like teaming up with other dispensaries and doing pop-ups, but like also, again, when I was in downtown Middletown, they had something called the Middletown Arts Fest. It was the first Friday of every month, and it would be pop-ups up and down Main Street. I was the only cannabis brand there. That actually gives you a lot of exposure to people that might never check you out because they were too nervous. Farmers markets, podcasts, but non-cannabis podcasts. Like you get yourself in front of people that don't typically like exist in our echo chamber or our orbit. Those are genuinely for me some of the best conversations because they're really open to hearing what you have to say. You know, it's folks that like they don't have the same like fear of stigma necessarily, but they're not surrounded by people knowledgeable about the marketing or the products or the advocacy or the legislation or any of that. So just being like that person at the PTO meeting or the golf clinic or something, you know, that goes a long way. So just kind of be out there, whether it's you or your brand, just getting out there into like Main Street America, I think helps a lot.
You say about the emails, it's a good way to market, but what's the conversion rate?
What's the conversion rate? I mean, that's, you define that yourself, you know, so your conversion rate is what you're selling, like you define that conversion rate yourself.
No, I mean like in your example, because you say for you, it's one of the best ways, so what's the conversion rate for you? Is it at least 0.1%?
It could be actually stronger. So I think text messages have an average conversion rate of 64%.
In cannabis?
No, in general.
No. I'm talking exactly about cannabis.
Right. I mean, I'm not an email marketer, you know, and probably couldn't share information about, you know, brands that I've worked with, but like email and SMS and having a direct line of communication with your consumer is probably the best thing, you know.
Yeah, and I wish I knew the answer to this because I don't know what the conversion rate is. And I'm thinking about some of the clients that I've worked with where we'll go into their analytics and see, you know, first of all, it depends on, you know, law of large numbers. So the more email contacts you have, your conversion rate is likely to be higher simply because you've communicated with more people. But you can have someone that's only collected 100 emails and their click rate will be very high, but it's not necessarily converted. So I think for me, this tied back to like having a coordinated team. There's going to be someone that's going to need to be making sure that the website is updated. You want the links to work, you know, if it's seasonal updates. So if, you know, as your social media manager, I'm on social media posting about Christmas, you also want those email blasts to correlate with that and also have some updates on the website. So without any statistics around it, anecdotally, your conversion rate is going to be as good as the inputs you're putting in other places. If you're just randomly sending a newsletter and there's nothing to tie it to, people might not even open it at a certain point. But if you've got workable hyperlinks that click you to the new promotion in the website or a hyperlink that kicks to the new blog post, it creates a reason to open it and engage with it. And the general idea with newsletters and social media is to drive traffic to your website. The website needs to be where the sales are happening because you can't really sell on social media. You can to some degree sell through your newsletter, but they're still coming back to the website. So this was a long-winded, I look at like the click and the open rate on texting and email. And then quite frankly, it's whoever is responsible for the sales funnel to take a look and see how much traffic is being driven to the website and what's happening there.
Yeah, so you get your conversion rate contingent on how many emails you send and how big your email list is, and how many of those people open and purchase from that. So your conversion rate could be really strong, you know, 1 month, but it could change depending if February has only 2 emails sent out, or if in April you send out 100 emails because it's cannabis, it's 420, right? So your email conversion, you can't really speak to it. You have to speak to averages off of data pools that are open, right? But it's typically, how you get your conversion rate is how many emails you send out,
I know
how big your pool is, right? So,
Of course, everyone knows how to calculate it. I just was curious about your particular case. At least approximately like 0.1%, 1%, like 0.01%.
Yeah, I don't know what the industry averages are. Yeah, I don't know what the industry averages are for cannabis as a whole. I would venture to guess that they vary market to market because we are not a nationally collected, regulated market. And so every state and regulations that go along with it is going to impact the marketing statistics that you're able to get information from. I also think that as a brand in stores that is not operating a storefront, it's hard for me to know when I'm sending people via link to sales to know how many of those cards are converting. And unless it's something super specific that I'm working with a retailer on, I'm not going to know what those results are. And so the best way for me to gauge is through some of those vanity metrics like click-through rate, but also seeing where they're diving deeper in other forms of communication. Are they going to the website and exploring our blog posts more? What pages are they lingering on? Where are they diving in more and learning more so that I can curate more content that is going to help kind of surprise, delight, and inspire them to keep going and engaging more with our brand? Because at the end of the day, we don't always have access to what the final conversion is, which is purchasing the product. But we have to keep trying to direct them there because that's part of the gig, right?
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about click-through rate. So in your case, what is the click-through rate?
I mean, my click-through rates are awesome, but I also have a relatively small list still. This event was great for bolstering, email subscribers. But for me, like my open rates, I would say are in like the high 30s, which is something that I'm really trying to safeguard and be intentional with my communications because they're already getting communications from all the retailers that we're in all the time because I get them. And so I always watch for when the retailers are picking up speed and then try to hit it at a time where it's either going to bring them value because we're on sale and discount and I want them to know about it, or it's going to deepen the relationship and nurture them and make them more interested in our story as a brand and what it is that they're supporting when they buy our products. And that's kind of how I'm being a bit choosy right now with what I'm sending. And our open rates, like I said, are in the high 30s. Our click-through rates are probably almost 10%, which I'm, again, very happy with. But again, like a lot of people that I'm emailing right now are brand new to us. And so they're still getting to know us as a brand. And so I don't expect those numbers to stay steady like that forever.
All right, guys, I think we're about out of time. So they can find you booths out there. Kristin
Yeah.
will be wandering,
Mhm.
flag them down. Okay, they're nice people. They care. They want to talk to you. So thanks, guys, for
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for the questions.
Yes, thank you. This is great. It's always good to chat.
If you roll your own, it's a good speaker too. Nice and thick. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't talk hundreds.
Yes. They're very good. They're very good. Yep.
So this is our leader.
Yeah, definitely.
I actually want to.
Okay. Cool. Nice. I've heard of them.
Yeah.
Yep, they're great.
So this is my brand.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. Yes, it's so good to meet you. Yeah. Maybe I'll see a card. Yeah. Feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to chat.
I'm much
Oh, wow.
So I'm.
Good pleasure. Is that your food from your own social medias and
No, you need everything, you need the ecosystem. And frankly, I think that it's going to operate as just like an edibles brand, or just a vape brand. It's 2% and operate as like ID. Yeah. It doesn't save you from like, the necessary.
First one.
Oh, okay.
You said,
Yeah, I
you
don't,
so
I
bad?
don't, I don't know if that was simply because,
Oh,
regulations around food in
When my
general.
house on you could be the
But
phone,
then
it's
I
just
think
like,
because
like,
it's cannabis.
listen, I'm like,
It's
that's
not- Yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, and so to a certain extent, it does exist, there are delivery options offered by some dispensaries. You plug it in and they'll bring it to your house. Mhm.
And he had a box. And he would go to the person that.
Mhm. That's how, yeah, so when we do even like deliveries to stores, everything's under lock and key, there's video cameras in the car. They have to, after a certain point in the trip, do another inventory log, everything has to be on a manifest and match up. If it doesn't, it's not good, it's a fine. And so, yeah, like it is very, very, and that all costs money, right? So like you have to pay 2 people right now to be in a driving situation. And so that, again, is an expense, you know, it's, I think, you know, probably, I would imagine just as more dispensaries open up and there's just more orders, more things, like the demand probably goes up a bit, but.
I live in Lindsay, 2 major places.
Fine Federal,
Fine Federal.
Curaleaf,
No, yeah, Curaleaf.
Curaleaf? Yeah. Oh, INSA.
Inside.
Mhm.
They're right.
Yeah, they're right. Well, so
Half a
that's
mile
the state,
inside.
that's the state of Connecticut though, because there's a law that you as a brand and a retailer cannot have more than 1 instance within a certain radius. So what they are doing,
On your package.
what they are doing is they are creating these pockets of dispensaries that are right next door to each other. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna hurt the smallest among them and they're gonna get eaten. They're not gonna be able- They're not gonna be able to compete. There's a lot of smaller stores coming online now. Some of them I'm not really reaching out to because I don't know that they will necessarily be set up for success. And that means, are they gonna be able to pay the bills that like coming to me, right? And so, because that's just a part of the business too, is like accounts receivables.
This is on you.
Yeah,
If
I
just
know.
be a little motivational,
yeah,
when I spoke earlier, I do like it.
Yeah.
More so, and I say I get like a good 5,
And that's kind of how.
$4 or $5 sleep.
Mhm.
There's more that can keep me sleeping longer by helping keep those.
You still live?
So if I
Take
went-
2.
Yeah, what are you taking 2? If you're doing that,
So it could be either. I mean,